What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the AJCer channel dedicated to Juventus. We are fresh off the latest victory in the Derby della Mola, a derby that really hasn't had much spice to it for quite some time, all right? So Torino e Bianconera, as it should be, and as it has been for quite some time. But we do have quite a bit in the aftermath to discuss around this team. Obviously, you could see it in the header here. Juve, are they ready for that next step? You could see it in the thumbnail. Are we real contenders? We're going to take a look at everybody's feelings because there is definitely mixed feelings coming out of this latest 2-0 victory. All right, and happy to have Lex and Paulo here to cover this one. All right, Lex, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having us on. How are you doing, Berto?
Oh, I'm always doing good. I'm always doing good, especially on these victory shows. Always doing well. Always doing well. And Paulo, my friend, how are you?
I'm good. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Thanks for having us. Great to be here. 2-0 is fantastic. I love it.
There we go. There we go. All right. All right. Well, the news is very quiet today, everybody. All right. So we know we're just going to sit back, relax, watch these other games. You've got Sesko coming in here. Hopefully both clown teams won't find the net. A draw would be great for Juventus. Okay. Alex Juve saying Atalanta the team to defeat. Inter and Napoli needs a draw. And ciao to Matt. Always in here rocking it with us. Great to see you, brother. So, yeah, we basically find out where Juve stands today. It could be either 4 points, 3 points, or 1 point out of top spot going into this latest international break. And to be honest, that's exactly where we want to be. Okay? Perfect striking range and everything. So as far as any of the outcomes, I'm actually fine with. But of course, we will hope for a physical battle in that primetime marquee matchup today. Hopefully they beat each other up and both teams drop 2 points, and we can give both of them one of these. That would be a perfect little Sunday, okay? But in terms of the news outside of that, Galatasaray interested in Eric Milik. Too good to be true. Take him away. Let's find an alternative. Let's find somebody. I think this guy's done. But again, we'll see what happens. That's really all there is in the news today around Juventus. It's all focused on the performance. 2-0 victory yesterday. We said we're going to cover it all. I'm going to rip through the highlights and we're going to get to the aftermath because there's a lot coming out of this. And like I said, some mixed feelings. Always happy for the 2-0 win. But everybody's got their little thoughts here on how things went down. For the starting lineup, Perin was in goal for Juventus. Nice seeing him get back in there between the pipes. Savona coming off his last performance, which won him man of the match, getting the nod again. Kalulu and Gatti, as it should be. And then Cambiaso on the outside. Locatelli and Thuram. Colt Miners continue with that three-man midfield. And that's the third game in a row now that we're seeing it. Locked in? Oh, we'll talk about it. Weah gets the nod ahead of Conceição on the right. Yildiz on the left. And then Dusan Vlahovic up top. For the lineup, we had there was a couple rumors of some changes. One was with either Weah or Conceição, but the midfield was locked in. The back was locked in. Absolutely no issues with that starting lineup. Lex, Potlo, were you guys absolutely happy with that lineup? I don't think there was any complaints from anybody. No. One thing we said, maybe this could have been the game when you had Torino down 3 key injuries. Maybe you move Colt Miners back next to Locatelli and try Yildiz as a 10. That was the only thing we were thinking about, but it wasn't make or break. Do you think, looking back in hindsight, we maybe should have tried it? Or no?
I think I would have liked to see it again because, as I mentioned before, I'm a big supporter of the Yildiz in the 10. But I do think like it still was a derby, no risks to be taken. Moto's first derby della Mole with Juve, so probably didn't want to take any risks. And especially in the league right now, it's tough. It's tight up front, right? At the top of the table. So probably why you just went with what we usually go for. But yeah, it would have been nice to see for sure.
Okay, okay. And Paulo, would you have liked to see that or not the game for that?
Um, I'd like to see it, but I don't think it was necessary yesterday. I love seeing two sitting above the four, and then Coop in the middle. I think Coop keeps kind of wandering off to the right side, um, so I was happy to see him parked above two, and hoping he would have been in the center more and been more active and engaged, and right behind Dushan. So I was happy with the idea they went in with.
Yeah, yeah. And Sev saying once we were up, we could have tried a few things and whatnot. But again, I don't think it was make or break. We'll go through some of these highlights here. I thought the first half was very strong from Juventus. 18 minutes. We don't have to wait very long. Cambiaso, another great run. Okay, so great darting run through, drives this thing. I said on the replay, if you caught this replay, very, very strange because Vanja Milinkovic-Savic is a good goalkeeper. He's a very, very good goalkeeper. So Cambiaso drives into the area, takes this rip. It's low, it's hard, it's short side. It looked like it caught Vanja completely off guard. And I think he was originally thinking back post because he adjusted and very late, and this thing clips the inside of his heel and kicks out to Weah. So when I saw that replay, I thought, oh my God, terribly misplayed by Vanja and uncharacteristic. But goddamn right, so I'm going to take it, all right? Weah with the tap in and giddy up. Let's go. Weah again, okay? Quietly, under the radar, and I know the goals he's finding, everybody's like, you got that group of people out there. Oh, I could tap that in. Those are tap-ins. There's something to be said about being in the right place positionally. You like he's attacking the ball. He's going to space. He's finding a way to get on the score sheet. And I'm not going to discredit it because he's right now on the fringe as a supporting cast player, but that's what we need. That's a bonus to us and Juve. So very, very happy to see him kick things off. But Cambiaso on this was just, he did the same thing against Lille that sparked the whole sequence that saw Conceição get this. What did I say about Cambiaso? I prefer him on the right. We need a big game from him on the left so that I'm comfortable in maybe the Cambrota talk, okay? Yesterday was a stellar performance. So you guys on this first goal, your thoughts on it, and Cambiaso, Weah, let's start with Lex.
First off, shout out Weah, 4 goals, 2 assists in the league. It happens once, okay, maybe you can say it's a little bit lucky, but I think now 6 goal contributions, you got to give him some credit. As you mentioned, Berto, you got to be right place at the right time. That requires a level of thinking as well. So I think that definitely Weah cannot be understated how well he's been doing for us. And also Cambiaso on that goal. I mean, my goodness, I think it was NYC who tweeted that he carries the ball like an attacking mid, like a midfielder. And just what a wonderful player, so versatile. I love watching him. He's techie. And also just what a perfect multiplayer too. No wonder he's become so vital to our team and to our system. I just think it's awesome to see. Good for
Absolutely.
Cambiaso. Yeah.
Absolutely. Matt saying he's like a Swiss Army knife, left or right, doesn't matter. Let's go. Let's go. Paulo, your thoughts on that goal, Cambiaso, Weah?
I think Lex nailed it. It was fantastic. Cambiaso was a midfielder when he was a kid. I think he likes being up there. He likes attacking. He likes playing both sides. And in the Mota system, in his perfect world, he's kind of he takes things from different managers and tries to make his own version from different tactics from different managers. But one thing he really wants is he wants the outside left and right backs to be high up. And then he wants the center backs to go to the sides and let the goalie be the third defender. So having Cambiaso up high, having Savona getting more comfortable up the right side, you're going to get these runs. You're going to get production from guys like Cambiaso. And I think it's fantastic because he almost megged that goalie, man. He almost put it in on his own. And to Lex's point, Weah, right place, right time. Weah also tracked back a couple of times during that game. So he's moving with his mind and his legs. And there's no mistake that he's there looking for an opportunity, finding the space ready and bearing it. So I'm really happy with that goal. And I think the two of them are on the ball for that. That's excellent.
There you go. And Cambiaso, hey, a few minutes later, driving again out of the midfield, finds himself at the top of the area, has a shot, sails well high from range. That's the only thing with Cambiaso. Got to dial in those shots from range, brother, okay? Got to get that dive. If he can get that, we've achieved perfection. He has scored from range. He scored a beautiful one cutting in from the right, left-footed curler. That was from range outside the area. But lately, yeah, his shots from range, he's just got to dial that in. But everything else with this guy is just fantastic. 32nd minute. Oh, I thought this was going to be the one. I thought Cope Miners was going to recreate the exact goal he scored against us on this damn set piece because he has words with Cambiaso. He steps out. He peels off away from the traffic in the area, and Cambiaso lays this thing on the carpet to him, and he hammers this thing. Unfortunately blocked. I believe it was Coco from Torino. That boy might have been Lazzaro, one of the two. But man, that would have been nice. Cope Miners getting in the area and getting a few attempts again in this first half for Juve. I still, and we'll talk about Cope Miners later on in a bit here, I still like everything he's doing. And I feel like the floodgates are going to open very, very soon. I remember when Cristiano Ronaldo joined Juve and everybody was so hyped waiting for that first goal that we had to wait all these matches that people started to act like as if the guy was never going to find goal again, like, period. It's like, just relax. He's doing all the right things. He's getting in the right areas. It's going to happen. It'll be just fine, okay? 34th minute, Yildiz and Cambiaso, a great exchange on the flank there. A back heel from Yildiz sends Cambiaso in on the run. And again, low cross for Cope Miners, and this one gets blocked. He was putting it far post. It was low. It was going to give Milinkovic-Savic issues, but again, blocked and out for the corner there. We end this at 1-0 at halftime there. I thought it was a very, very strong, positive first half for Juventus. We are going to really just hammer out this second half because it was pretty drab second half. Let's be honest. A very, very dull second half. The opening 10 to 12 minutes, I felt like we were giving unnecessary hope to Torino, but it didn't really matter. They were toothless, okay? We still need to kill this off, in my opinion. But again, more on that later. 82nd minute, Chico, this guy is crazy. Like, he almost curled in an absolute beauty. Left Vanja standing, flat-footed. He picks up the garbage off a set piece. One step left, boom. That would have been fantastic to see him get on the board. This is October's MVP, and he's not missing a beat, okay? Keeps going. 84th minute, Locatelli with the one-touch springboard pass just ahead of Conceição. He's off to the races. He's got Coco in front of him. I thought he was just going to beat him outright. Credit to Coco for hanging in there with him on the pace. Enough to at least get back defensively. But it didn't matter. A few feints. And then Conceição. This thing is like, hey, Keenan, it's Chico here. It's ADP's birthday. Here's your platter goal to score on the most iconic number 10 for Juve. Here you go. And Keenan with a diving header to pop it home. And he gets to pay homage and tribute to the one and only Alessandro Del Piero on his birthday. That cross, what are we talking about here? Like, you can't make a mistake on that one. And Yildiz pots it home. Beautiful goal. Beautiful way to end this game. You guys, your thoughts on that goal? This time we'll start with Paulo.
That was a gorgeous goal. That's a hard goal to score. Sure, it came in. It was a beautiful cross. He was unmarked. But what do you take it off your chest? You try and put it down and then kick it in. You try
between two minds, right?
You try and slow down to get it on your left or right foot. There's not a lot of options there when it's coming in like that and you're heading towards that spot. It's a tough angle. He dives, uses his head, gets it to the far side, the far post, it was a perfect finish, and that's a really hard goal to score. I think it was brilliant. I think he really scored a beauty there. Great cross, but that finish is very, very difficult. So
Yeah,
many
I
guys will
was.
blow that.
Oh man, I could see some players probably, but like if you're gonna be a guy that caliber and with that kind of you just know how you're gonna put that thing in, and yeah, that was the right call, 100%. Header back against the grain for Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, no chance, unreal. But Chico Conceição is just ridiculous. Lex,
Yeah, absolutely agreed with your point about the difficulty in scoring that. Diving header is fantastic. I mean, come on now. And Conceição has quickly become definitely one of my favorite players to watch on our team. I just think that we've been needing a winger like that so badly, especially in our current formation. Someone who can beat their man, and just his creation and everything he does on the ball is incredible. He's definitely our most threatening attacker. And also underrated was Locatelli's through ball to set that whole play up. He was a one-time through ball over top to send Conceição to the races. I thought that was also a super underrated element of that goal. But just what a fantastic play. Couldn't have had a better night to do it. I thought it was great. Happy birthday to ADP. It's wonderful.
it's been a good little run here so far for the ones that stood on a hill for Locatelli there. I wouldn't know anything about that, would I?
Yeah. Who would that be, Berto?
Locatelli is balling out. Now, he's going to come up in this next little segment, which of course is going to be man of the match. I thought he was definitely in the running for man of the match in this game. There was probably three I would be looking at. But before we completely dive into man of the match, Lex, your overall thoughts on this latest installment of the Derby della Mola from a performance standpoint of Juve?
Ooh, performance standpoint, I thought we did well to dominate. I really didn't feel threatened by Torino at any point. It's also Torino minus Zapata, so I don't know really what other threat there was, since his injury. But I do think that, as you mentioned, Berto, I would have liked to have killed this game off sooner. I do think that like leaving it 1-0 for as long as we did was a bit unnecessary. But regardless, there were some highlight points. Seeing some great things out of the system. With this team, it's honestly just taking it game by game and accepting that it is a learning curve for these players and for this system. I just think that patience really is key. But I do think strong performance. You got to be happy with the derby win. I mean, come on, we own Torino at this point. I'm not even sure it's even a competition anymore, but always a good win.
It's becoming a match on the weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
It's becoming just another match on the calendar. But Paolo, your thoughts performance-wise before we dive into man of the match?
I was really happy. It may be a boring win for some, but the formation was great. The wing backs being high was fantastic. Luca running the ball, running the build up from behind. We moved the ball a little bit faster, and we made no errors. There were no real giveaways or mistakes. So I'm really happy with that kind of a win. It was a solid win, and it may not have been pretty or exciting, but it was a convincing one. Torino was never really in it, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. 9 clean sheets out of 12 Serie A matches to begin the season. The last team to do that, us, 2014-2015 season, Juve. 9 clean sheets out of the opening 12, all right? So we're definitely doing the right things. We're on the right track. My thoughts on this performance, honestly, I'm happy. I'm happy. 2-0 victory. Okay, you got the clean sheet, bagged a couple goals. My one thing, if I can nitpick, okay, is going to be this. If you're a title contending team, okay, if you want to be amongst the ranks and like seriously considered, and if we're going to ask, are Juve real contenders right now this season? You put a toothless team like that to rest sooner. That second half hits, the way you left off the first half, you don't have this 10 to 15 minute lull in the second half where you give a team some type of hope that maybe something happens. You can make a mistake. There can be a silly foul, something where all of a sudden you're 1-1 and the outlook completely changes despite the fact you've dominated. I need to see this team not drop off to the level of the opponent in order to be ready when you face those tough matchups, those tough teams, or those teams that catch you off guard doing something you're not even expecting, like, say, Stuttgart. We haven't completely gelled in the attack, so I would have wanted us to go out with the mindset, like, let's keep pushing, let's go, and let's work at this. Let's get the offense rolling. And I think that Torino, with 3 key injuries out, and as toothless as they were, was the perfect candidate for guys to keep that confidence or get that confidence built up, and them as a group overall in the attack. But I understand Motta will always lean towards not giving the opponents like extra openings. I could see Motta's approach to there being let them work for absolutely anything they get because we're shutting them down all over the pitch. So I get it. That's my only nitpicking thing out of this game, because again, we had to wait for Chico to come in, which was the 73rd minute, before it looked like we could even kill the game off. And that Cagliari game is still too close to me, where we got the 1-1, okay, where we didn't push. That's my only nitpicking thing. But overall, a great performance and a lot of individual great performances in there. Now it's time for man of the match. Paulo, who was your man of the match in this game?
That's kind of tough. There were a lot of candidates. I'm looking at my notes, and I kind of had Cambiaso or Locatelli, and I'm going to give it to Locatelli because I think I've been waiting for the one thing that matters to me the most is that you own the middle of a field. No matter who you're playing or what your plan is, own the middle. That's where you see all the breakdowns or the weaknesses or the strengths of a team in their game. And I think Loca really sitting above with the help of Thuram to back him up, being above that 4, having Coop ahead of him. I think he really was given the ball in better places. And I'm really thrilled at how he produced a lot of good passes. I think the comments were coming in with some great numbers on his production. So I think Locatelli's my guy because I think you need him to get that kind of complete game.
Yeah. So Locatelli, that's Paolo's pick, and that's 76 touches, 58 for 64 on 91% passes. Long balls, 6 landed out of 7 attempts. Didn't give him a key pass on the one springing off Conceição, but of course that started from him. If you look at his heat map, Jesus, he just pretty much was everywhere other than the opponent's area. So definitely he was in there for me as well. Lex, your man of the match. And keep in mind, everybody, Yildiz was the official man of the match for this game. But like I said, Locatelli definitely in the mix as well. Lex, who did you give it to?
A great shout out, Locatelli. I'm going to have to go with Yildiz, the man of the night, the number 10, wearing the Del Piero kit. So, got to do it. So I think, I'm going with Yildiz. Just fantastic stuff from him. I mean, 19 years old, scoring these goals, so impressive.
That switch ball from Locatelli, chested down, flipped by Yildiz. Walukovic dead to rights, had to grab on for dear life. Yildiz is off to the races, and then Yildiz taking exception to his stop. But man, that's what I like to see. That's when the signs are there that this team is ready to kind of take that next step. Like, Loca's feeling it. He's making passes. We've been screaming for him to start making and take control kind of as that dictator at the back there. It's moving in the right direction. We had a shout for Thuram. There was several yesterday that were making shouts for Thuram. I think that's easily his best showing for Juve so far. Locatelli and Thuram with Colt Miners in the midfield. We're going to get to that in a bit. My man of the match, though, let's cover all the three that were the main three. I've got Cambiaso. In this one. So, obviously, just so involved. Doing good work defensively, too. Finished with one of the higher ratings out of the game was 7.9. 95 touches. 59 out of 64 for 92% pass accuracy. 2 key passes. 3 for 3 on long balls. Ground duels, 5 for 8. Only lost the ball 8 times. And again, just crucial in creation up that left flank. He was going outside of Yildiz. He was cutting inside centrally. That was finally what I needed to see from him on the left, and that was a really big game on the left side. Strong performance. Now, I don't care where the hell you put him, okay? Just get him on the pitch. Okay? Good stuff there. The midfield. Thuram getting some shouts. Thuram, Locatelli, Colt Miners. 3 matches in a row. Are we locked in? Is this the 1A setup in the middle of the park for you guys? Lex, why don't you kick us off? Is this the 1A setup for 3 midfielders?
Well, I definitely like it. I like it. You can't deny that it did look really good yesterday in the game. I think that would be, as Matt says in the comment, that would be our main midfield. I think that the Douglas Luiz factor is just so interesting to me. Like, what is going on there? Because I do think, like, I would love his creativity, theoretically, in there, but it's like he's just nowhere to be found. He has not found himself yet this season.
And based on what, we know of the guy from the Prem, etc., Locatelli, Thuram, Colt Miners, let's say Luiz was available, whatnot. Who's your change up to get him in?
That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know if there is a change up.
Like, do you take Thuram and put him next to Locatelli? Do you take off Colt Miners? Do you see him more advanced?
I think I see him more advanced, but I think right now the 3 of them have made a good enough showing for themselves, to disprove any sort of like change up right now, especially with Douglas Luiz and how he's been pretty absent from our midfield. But it's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Fagioli's going to have to work his way back in. I see him as the change up for Locatelli. But now he's got, he's going to have to really get it going a little bit more from his end to get back in there. We've seen mixed with Fagioli, obviously not getting the latest call back to the Azzurri. So Rovella, Ricci, but Ricci got injured yesterday. So they'll probably call somebody else in. I don't expect it to be Luca because this is clearly personal with Spalletti, but that's a whole separate thing. Fagioli's got to ramp it up. He's had 2 solid performances and he's had a couple not so solid ones. But the way Luca's playing, when you take him out and there is going to be rotation, I see Fagioli going in there. McKennie probably for Thuram or maybe Colt Miners. I don't know what you do there, but this 3, it's looking good. Paulo, is this the 3 locked in as 1A?
I don't think so. I think it's looking like an option, a great option. I think Thuram's touch is still a work in progress. His movement without the ball and how and where he positions himself defensively, I think he needs a bit of work. But I like his physical game and I like the way he goes downhill with the ball. And the physical aspect that we had against Lille, we really pushed them around. And I think having him in there as a strong midfielder really helps our physical game. And we win a lot of battles and we bully teams a little bit. So I like that about him. But I think in a possession game, a control game where you're owning the ball and you don't have to be as physical because the other team never gets to the ball in time, I'd love to see Fagioli and maybe Locatelli at the back together in a perfect world where we have 99% possession and 99% complete passing.
I think, and this is where it gets interesting with the change-ups, because I'm not going to disagree that the touch might be a bit off here and there from Thuram. However, he's definitely more techie than McKennie. He's not as techie as Luiz, but I would argue that Thuram will still give you more defensively and physically than Luiz, even though Luiz had decent numbers backing that in the Prem. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Right now, I like the makeup of this midfield. What was interesting was balance, though. It's not 100% balanced in what we were doing. And this ties into Cope Miners. Cope Miners, it's been this thing. A big portion of the fan base is like, I don't see anything out of this guy. And then the other portion is like, you can see he does so much and helps so much. Tracks back, wins balls, allows us to regroup, recycle all the time. His movement is more often than not spot on. And he's starting to get in. This guy is 0 goals that could easily be on 7 right now at this juncture. It's not falling for him right now, but he's doing good. But what I'm talking about balance, when the ball is on the right side of the pitch, we essentially have a flat midfield 3. Because Thuram is not taking up that spot of a 10. But when the ball goes to the left side, Cope Miners does. And he was doing that. And he was doing that a lot in the first half. In the second half, died down a bit, but he was still doing it. But it's not level from right side to left side. And it's this weird lack of balance. And I mean, we kind of had a chuckle about this in the green room, but this is Cope Miners' heat map. Is that a 10's heat map? He's not really playing as a 10. So this whole thing for getting him to completely unlock, this is kind of half committed. So we go back to what we talked about earlier on. Do you drop this guy back and take a stab at, a different style with a 10? But Mota, for me, will not give up 3 midfielders on the pitch. He won't do it. I don't see him doing that. So I think it's going to be like this. And like I said, Thuram, look at this. Look at all this on the right side. He's getting into those 10 spots when the ball is being driven up by Yildiz, Cambiaso, etc., and Thuram even at some points. But Thuram's not leveling it off when the ball's on the right side. And you see Cope Miners, he'll get the ball and he's out here on the flank. There's nowhere really to go for him, And he's got to work 1-2s and whatnot, but it's not really happening. I don't really think there's a problem per se, but it's a little bit weird, isn't it, you guys? It's a little bit weird what's going on with him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's not really playing as a 10.
I think one of the things you want to do with a guy like Coop is let him go where he wants to go. He's such a smart player that when he's out there, he'll feel the game, he'll look around, he'll get the vibes off who's moving well, where they're moving, what the opposition's doing. I think any given game, he might have a different heat map, even in the same position, because I think he kind of moves where he thinks he needs to be. And he's great on the press. So I want you to keep him high. I want you to allow him to get some shots. He's creative. He can still drop back and help out. He can switch the ball. So, yeah, an unusual map. But that's him and the way he needs to be allowed to play. It could be different every game.
Yeah. And in the press is for sure a big strength that doesn't show up on a stat sheet. So I think anybody that's really talking about him not really delivering or not seeing anything great from him, I don't know. I still don't see it that way. He's doing a lot of little things and intangibles the goals and assists are going to come. I have no concerns with that. Like, if you're talking on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned I am about Cope Miners, it's below 0. Below 0. Seriously. Lex, are you concerned?
No, I don't think I'm concerned. I think you both make really good points, especially as you mentioned about the fact that he could easily be on 6 goals right now. Like, it's 100% true. I think that he's been very unlucky. I mean, 2 amazing finishes in the Champions League. I mean, our players were offside clearly, but still great one-time finishes. I think he's really good at that one-time finish when the ball is sent across. So yeah, nothing really like concerning. I think sometimes in games where we're struggling against a low block or against a team that's sitting back on us, we struggle a bit with our midfield in terms of like having someone who's more creative. So sometimes I'd like to see more out of his creative edge, especially in the 10. That's just my like personal opinion about what I want out of a 10. So I think sometimes we have very similar profiles in our midfield, and sometimes that is difficult for us in those games where we really need to try to unlock a defense. And Malta, our team with Malta, has struggled with that this season. That's why like it is also a question, and I like the rotation and I like the options about like getting someone like McKennie in there, because like I really do love that role from McKennie when he's able to either make a cutting run into the box and he's just able to open things up for us in the final third in a really great way. But I think that this is a great problem to have. As you mentioned, Malta loves his 3-man midfield, so having these options and rotation is awesome. We can pick different profiles based on the opponent, based on the game. I think it's great.
Yeah. And that's ultimately, yeah, same spot on for Alex Juve here. Great problem to have. Finally, we have options in the midfield. Yeah. I mean, God, it's been years where we're just like, this is it. This is what we got. Like, you don't even factor in anybody that's on the bench. Now, you have a lot of opportunities and potential for Malta to mix it up. So I love it. Now, in terms of, we talked about Cope Miners and what's going on there. You've got another player, but this one isn't so mixed. It's getting heavy, and yesterday it got heavy again, and this is around Dusan Vlahovic. Okay? So, I'm reading the comments. Another piss-poor performance from Vlahovic. Brutal showing from our 9. We need a 9. Team needs a fast, technical 9. Everything was good, solid game. Vlahovic, poor again. Paulo, thoughts on Vlahovic? Then we're going to get to Lex. What do you think, man?
I think once you get to that position in the game, it's tough. There aren't a lot of guys who can have 6, 7, 8 goals at this point early in his season. There aren't many out there, and they're not cheap. I think if you, other than Holland, he's right where he needs to be as far as strikers go and putting away his opportunities. I don't have a problem with him. I don't think the team creates a lot for him. I was looking at his 50 goals the other day because it was released, a video of 50 goals.
Yeah.
And he scored some beauties from set plays, some headers, some nice one-time finishes in the middle, right in the box. I'm happy with him. I think, and I don't think there's an alternative. So I think those are two things that make me remain patient with him. And I think he's fine. I'm not worried about him. I think he's a good player, and he's proven himself each year so far.
Yeah. It's funny because we had that 1 week he scored against Leipzig. He scored like class finishes, insane finishes. That touch on the Cambiasso cross, like not many strikers can pull that one away. That's a hell of a finish. And then, of course, that shot from range. It was literally the following game where he missed that wide open tap in that we draw 1-1 against Cagliari. It's those that stand out for a lot of the fans, but I'm seeing little signs of an improvement, maybe mentally. The little signs are there. Yesterday, he fought off a big defender. He's been struggling with weaker defenders. Coco, a big guy, fought him off and carried it forward, cut into his left. Vanja read it like a book that he was going to go far post, and he put too much curl on it, whipped it into his chest essentially. But that's what I wanted to see. I've said I've wanted to see that fight from him more in the battles. He made the run. He was making a good run a couple times there, but when he's making these runs lately, these other guys are finding the space. All the guys were surrounding Vlahovic yesterday, and Weah walked in and tapped that rebound home because there's literally 3 guys around him. He's moving more. He's doing the little things. We have no alternative, like Paolo said. So yes, I'm patient too. But I'm starting to see this as, if Dusan is the issue, okay, that does us no good now. Right now, it's a Mota issue. Because you have to find a way to get this guy going and like serviced and like fed. Because right now we're not willing to find him. And again, going back to yesterday's performance, take advantage of a rather weak Torino. Don't give them 15 minutes to play around in the second half, even if you don't feel threatened. Let's see what we can do. How do we find this guy? How do we find this guy? How do we connect with this guy further up the pitch? You know, I don't know. But overall, I'm not overly concerned right now with what I'm seeing around the team in Dusan. Lex, what are your thoughts?
I think that I've been a Dusan supporter, and I still am. 2 things. 1, he needs more service. Completely agree with your point, Paulo. We do not give him enough still. I don't think we do. And I know he catches flack because the problem with Dusan is that he scores the difficult chances and he misses the easy ones.
Yeah.
And the issue with that is that has you catch a lot of criticism. But the thing is that these easy chances are not as easy as they look. It's hard to be a 9. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever played there. It is hard. Playing with your back to goal, hold up play, being expected to finish anything. It's difficult. And I mean, I think sometimes for perspective, it's interesting to watch like Haaland and some of these other guys. They miss those chances too. But you know what? Their team creates like 10 times that opportunity for them in the game, that they have the opportunity to redeem themselves, and you forget about that. I think that Dusan, in the grand scheme of things of when he's been playing for us, it's been really, really like few and far between. One other thing is I disagree with him needing to be faster. I think that if you have a player like Yildiz and Conceição on the wings, that you just need him to work on his hold-up play. I do agree with the criticism on his like technical ability. We just need him to get better at holding up the ball for us, I think. Because if you have Yildiz, Conceição running in behind, you don't need the 9 to be particularly fast. Another example, Xerxes is not exactly fast. Like, look at the criticism from the Man U fans on him right now. I think those are 2 things that are really important to look at when we're talking about Dusan. Because as you said, there's flashes of brilliance from him, and we just need to see more of that. We need the system and Malta to get that out of him a bit more.
Reminder, everybody, get those likes up, but also send in your Storm the Barn questions. We're not far off Storm the Barn, okay? But I think it's two-part issues here. You have a team that doesn't score a ton in Juve. So the ones you miss are going to be magnified more than if you're comparing them to a striker on a team that's bagging a bunch of goals, depending on whatever league they're playing on, okay? Or playing in. That's going to be highlighted, obviously, more like that Cagliari game. And I came on the live pregame show yesterday and fought a case for Vlahovic, saying that right now his numbers, numerically, what he's doing, I don't have a massive problem with him. That Cagliari game should have been killed off regardless of that tapping or not. We shouldn't have even gotten to a point where we allowed them to play so much and go like that. So, number 1, you've got this team thing in it that's... We're not going to be, I don't think, this high-scoring team, okay? I think it's going to be very methodical, very, laid out games. Every now and then we might have to go on tilt, kind of like a Leipzig, if we get things kind of wrong or something weird happens in the game that changes it. You've got the Inter match that was wild, but again, certain individual might have thrown off the balance at the back, who, by the way, was also involved in a scramble yesterday that ended up on the foot of Sanabria. I'm just going to say it, okay? This guy stepped on It got really weird at the back post. Sanabria, that is terrible from Sanabria, okay? That's a spot right at the PK spot. He hits this thing like where his shin meets the kneecap almost. I'm like, good God. That's awful, but I'll take it. Anyways, you'll have games like that where I think we have to go on tilt and then go, and it leaves people feeling like, yeah, Juve's going to go bag 3, bag 4, like when we play Cagliari, Parma, etc. I don't think that's going to, I think what you see yesterday is going to be right in Motta's wheelhouse. Controlled, patient squad is what you're going to get. So two-part things. We're not going to be this high-scoring, revving team. But the second issue for me, something Lex touched on earlier with McKennie, I'm just singling him out because you see it a lot when he's there. We don't play anybody close to him. There is... So, as a defense, it is even easier to hone in on a player or rule him out per se, because the wingers are way out. The width is there with them. They've got help from whichever fullback steps up, Savona, Cambiaso, etc. But we saw Colt Miner's heat map. Very rarely is he even close to Vlahovic. That plays a big part. Like, you have to work with those guys. You can't just take any 9. And this is why I say I still think you have an issue. Unless you're playing a guy up there that is the reincarnation of Diego Maradona and will just dribble through an entire squad. You still have to play off of those guys and with those guys and get somebody closer to attend to some of these other defenders that are around them. That's not happening. And that's why I say balance in the attack is still not achieved by this Juve.
And
do you guys
exactly,
agree with that?
That's a great point, Berto. I think that that's something that I've had trouble with our 10, and I think the heat map shows that, and that's a big reason why I'm such a huge supporter of like Yildiz in the 10, or maybe even like McKennie, someone that's playing closer to Dusan, because I think that that plays a massive role. I had a great conversation with someone on Twitter about this too, about Yildiz holding width on the left side rather than playing closer in. Once again, looking at heat maps and seeing how, like, comparing him to an inverted winger on another team, about like bringing him more into the half space and getting him closer. Because I think that it would be interesting to look at the heat maps of our attackers and just see, is anyone really around Dusan for a large period in the game? I don't think so. He's often off on an island.
Yeah. And it definitely plays part. Paulo, your thoughts on him being on an island? Like, do you agree that's part of the issue?
I don't think we're getting enough bodies forward. So I think we need to, when we have these teams that do the low block, we have to get into the opposition's box to that area quicker, with longer balls sooner, faster, and more bodies in there before they can set up. And I think one problem we're trying to figure out, and maybe this is part of Mota tinkering with who's best where and when, is getting more bodies forward. So, and he wants to keep his width. So guys like Yildiz and Conceição are kind of asked to stay on the edges. So when it comes to the middle, I think it's a work in progress. I think we need to get more bodies forward. I don't think we quite know who the right person is, and I think it's different people. One thing I like about McKennie is that he's kind of he's a bit arrogant, and he kind of decides what he wants to do. He reads the game really well. He's physical. He's ambitious. He's not afraid, and he's confident. So he'll go in with a Dusan, and he'll kind of try and set him up or get a pass from him. He'll look for these things because he's really an ambitious-minded player. So I think it also depends on who you've got in the game, and that'll influence who's in and around Dusan. Right now, though, I think we need more bodies forward to help give him more support, closer support.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, it has to happen. I mean, again, I'm not so much concerned with who, because if McKennie was able to do that and show that it does help, there's no doubt in my mind, if you literally made a case for Colt Miners to actually get there and stay closer to Dusan, that it will help the overall. You don't really lose anything in the press either, because they are just making a flat forward line across the top, and then the pivots are pushing forward on anybody between the lines. And we saw that a ton yesterday. So if anything, it just keeps Cope Miners or whoever you want to play in that advanced role there naturally for that press as well. So it's, again, some small tweaks, but whether or not we see them, we wait and see. But it's interesting. It's interesting. With Yildiz, I would say get used to seeing him out on the wing and out on the flank play there. I know the exact conversation you're talking about, Lex. I kind of saw the original post that had been put out there about players like Yildiz and sticking them out on flanks, etc. But I really think a guy like that is so, like, he's just got to get on the pitch. If it's a game like yesterday when there's a ton of space out there, he'll destroy. Like, for him, it's just about finding the spaces, and I think just getting on the pitch. Remember, I used the same example for Dybala because we used to always hear, you can't play Dybala out on the wing. Nonsense. He played the majority of his games for Juventus out on the wing, and he always had an impact. It's like, guys like that, just get him out there. Just get him out there and we see what happens. I want to touch on Savona. Paolo, we know this is your guy. This is your guy, Savona. Man, does he... That might have to be... He might have to be the 1A. He might have to be the 1A and Cambiaso on the left. Even though I do think overall, majority-wise, Cambiaso's better on the right. Savona's putting in some good shifts. Okay, he had some rocky performances before getting sat down, and then Cabal kind of come back into the mix. I like the thought of the two of them going at it back and forth for kind of this role, because Cambiaso, it ultimately doesn't matter, right? But man, what do you think of Savona showing in yesterday's game? Like, he's pretty damn calm and poised and just seems like a pretty cool character beyond his years, I'd have to say, is like my feeling of him watching him.
Are you asking me or?
Yeah, I'm asking you. That's your boy.
Yeah, I'm so happy with him. And I'm really happy with the back line, the way it's come along, because if you would have told me that Bremer would be gone for the season and that we would rely on Kalulu and maybe someone like Cabal, who's still young and inexperienced to an extent, and then Savona as being our fillers, and hoping Gatti's got, he's playing his best game every day, I would be worried. But we're so lucky. Kalulu's been brilliant. And if Bremer was healthy and you had Kalulu on the right or the left or in the middle with Bremer, you've got great options there. And to see Savona take the reins as he had, every defender, I mean, people are so forgiving in hockey when you're bringing a defender in. You give them a year or two, right, to get used to it, to make mistakes, and then they're there for 10 years. I think with Savona, we're so lucky he's doing so well so early. He in a couple of early games, he made a mistake and he tracked back and won the ball back and made the pass to continue forward again. So he's correcting his mistakes. He's fast, he's tall, he's physical. He scored a couple of goals already, and those were great goals. So I'm thrilled with him. If he wants the right spot, it's his. Having him be able to go in a rotation or get a break now and then is totally fine. And I think we're really lucky. I'm thrilled with him. I think he's our right back of the future, and we're lucky. I think he's fantastic. Yeah. He's in. He's made it. A little
bit of a battle there in the chat over whose ceiling is higher, Cabal or Savona. Huh. Lex, is Savona, should he be in this 1A spot?
Yeah, I mean, I like him there. I think that he's doing a great job holding down that flank. I think that, like you mentioned, it's so nice to see someone, especially at his age, showing that maturity in his game, because it's tough, especially as a defender. Life is not easy. One reason I've never played defense, I have a lot of respect for defenders. So I think that it's great. It's great to see him doing well there.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, same thing bodes for the midfield. It's a good problem to have. I like the fact that you can go from one match saying, man, we really got to get this guy in, and look at the counterpart on the opposite side, say we really got to get this guy in. That's just great. Bodes well for us overall. But Savona, he's really showing some the poise, like I said, to me. Every now and then, a little bit loose in passing. I do kind of agree with that, but Cabal is in the same boat there.
Right.
Maybe more so. And this might be why some people kind of like Cabal a bit more. He's got a little bit more risk to him. Cabal's got a little bit more risk to his game. Whereas Savona's, I wouldn't say to the degree of calling him safe, but he's pretty sound, you know? So I think that's, and this is why when you talk players, depending on who you talk to, you usually get a different answer, different stories, because it always becomes personal preference. Some people like that risk. They like that edge, right? But that's the slight differences. So I can't really knock Savona on getting too loose with passing, because Cabal's probably much looser when it comes to passing, because he's taken more chances and more shots. But crossing, Cabal's really, really good when he gets forward, and he's hit a couple for goals already. I don't think we get him further. I don't think we get him higher up as often when he's in the game. And that's because when you see Cabal, Cambiaso's still out there. And Cambiaso will dominate whether Savona's there or Cabal's there. Cambiaso dominates that position of getting forward from the back. That Mota always uses one of those guys to advance. And he will always dominate that. But Cabal, he is great at getting up there and crossing the ball. So sometimes you gotta risk it a little bit, you know, if you're looking for that breakthrough in the attack, because he can find those early crosses in. And who did he hit on the goal? Vlahovic. He's hit Vlahovic already for a goal and a couple good opportunities. And it's funny enough, we're talking about a guy that's not getting service. Savona has also delivered some great crosses. I think offensively, I need to see that more often from Savona. I need to see him get that confidence level up where I know you've got Chico there, and it's easy to give him the ball and let this guy go nuts like a little Tasmanian devil, okay? But I want to see you delivering the ball early if it's there for you. That's my one thing with Savona, is taking that next step confidence-wise, because he put one on not a platter, still a difficult finish for Yildiz. He's got crossing abilities, Savona. I just want to see that from him, you know?
Every game he kind of moves up a little more. So I think he's getting a little more comfortable each game. He gets a little higher, tries a couple of overlaps, pinches a little bit more, makes that cross. So he's growing into his role, and I think we're going to see him get better and better. And one thing that's actually interesting with Cabal is if he can get more mature, more comfortable as an option to Gatti next to Kalulu, and then Cambiaso on one side and Savona on the other, I mean, that could be a risk, but also it could be really fascinating to see all four being able to get really high and get back and cover each other, because they'll all have legs. And one thing that you want from a system that is going to be more aggressive and more dangerous is have those wing backs commit and have two center mids who can make those runs. Not just Kalulu can make a run, but maybe Cabal can make a run. And I think that would be maybe later in the season, we'll see.
Yeah.
Because Gatti's kind of a statue, right? Like he gets up, he makes his move up to the halfway mark, and then he stops and he passes it left or right. Yeah. Or he does a little short pass to Locatelli, who's like, I needed that ball like 5 minutes ago.
But
so we'll see.
Gatti in the 3-man back last year, he was making those runs left, right, and center all the way up into the air. Like how he was
very ambitious.
Some huge goals were at his feet and stuff. But yeah, this year it's completely different. So hey, we'll see what happens. Salvatore saying Cambiaso becoming best Italian player. He is 3 weeks ago I think I said he's easily probably my favorite player on this current team. Cambiaso. He's the versatility is just crazy. He's unbelievable for me. And best Italian player. He's heading that way. He's heading that way. Storm the Barn. I think we need to acknowledge, it's from Giratina, John, my friend over in Eastern Canada. Happy to see you in here, brother. I think we need to acknowledge how good Weah has been. He was not even given much of a passing thought with all the additions, and he's been really good in a supporting role. We did show some love earlier on in the show to just Weah in general. The numbers behind it, 4 goals, 2 assists, fantastic stuff. He's doing what we need him to do. He's happy. He spoke in the interview post-match and just saying, I like attacking, He likes attacking. He was played as a wingback. It seemed like and I think that makes sense if you look back at those performances, because it's like he couldn't find the balance. It's like he couldn't find the sweet spot of being a wing back, and knowing when to take your shots, when to take those chances and maybe risk a bit, whatnot. But now he just looks a lot more comfortable. That's what I would have to say. He just looks comfortable, much more than we've seen previously. His preseasons, though, are always strong. So you never really know what the hell's going to happen because his preseasons are lit. But yeah, Weah's doing what Weah needs to do. You guys have anything to add after what we already said earlier on the show with Weah? It's funny how we threw a lot of players under the bus maybe last year that seemed to be the guys, even after the additions, showing some chops.
I think, Berto, you and I always said this last year on the pod, just gotta wait till there's a new manager. You just gotta wait. I think that we spoke about that a ton, and I was a big proponent of that. Just in my own experience playing, manager and system just play a huge role on player performance. So it's nice to see some of these guys finally coming to fruition under Malta.
Yeah.
I agree. And I also think that they're not playing scared. Number one, health. Weah being healthy is really important. He's got great attitude and character. And same with McKennie. We were trying to get rid of McKennie, and thank goodness we didn't. And I was never on the get rid of McKennie bandwagon. But I think last year, Allegri, people were afraid to make mistakes. And maybe that's a generalization. But if you're playing happy and Mota's making you believe that you won't get benched if you make one mistake, that you can grow, that there's opportunities for everyone, I think it really impacts the psychology of a player. And I'm really happy for Weah. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, he's doing well. I mean, Locatelli's my guy, okay? Locatelli's my guy. I remember hearing Paredes was going to bench him when we came in. And then with all the additions this summer, Locatelli, just sell him. Sell him last summer. I was like, not a chance. Not a chance. This year was the make or break for Locatelli. Loca, my boy. My boy, okay? Weston, I take heat for Weston, but from a business perspective, if the club comes out and says you're not part of the project and we're trying to actively sell you, and they do this 3 years in a row, I'm going to say sell. Okay, yeah, let's sell. And I'm going to be mad at him if he turns down a really good opportunity. But Weston is just this undeniable, guy that's just hanging around and that just keeps, just it's the magic. It's the magic. Let it just happen. Let it just happen,
goal,
okay?
That header goal of his was gorgeous. Come on. He let it come in. He had his arm on the guy's shoulder a bit, and he just popped it into the corner.
That was a nice goal.
I will never forget his goal versus Barcelona.
Oh, that was gross.
Come on. And also the fact that Wes has been serviceable under 3 managers, and 3 times the club tried to get rid of him, and 3 times he's become a vital player is insane. I mean, at some point you just got to realize it's not luck anymore. Guy's good.
Yeah, and I mean, the finances may have dictated that too, just because he had interest. I mean, he did have interested clubs and needed money. So in the end, I have always said everything happens for a reason. So we'll see what happens. What signings are needed, in your opinion, to take this squad to the next level? Well, if we're talking January, I don't see any signings taking us next level. I'll be quite honest. It's more about safety nets. So get yourself coverage at center back, get yourself a Vice Vlahovic. But I don't see anything that's going to be available in January taking it next level. If you're looking at the summer, I say wait. Wait until we hit, late in the season to really make those calls and whatnot. But I stand firm that I'm a believer that we have a group right now that can go next level. But it's like what I believe takes us next level is also contradicting the philosophies of our current manager. So I'm not probably the guy to ask on what is needed to go next level. Lex, what do you think is needed to go next level?
A striker, a backup Vlahovic, 100%. That's easily where we are missing the most on the pitch. I would even argue more than an extra center back. I think a Vice Vlahovic is tired. Like, we are running him into the ground. I think I was going to mention that earlier. I think that's another factor. Like, he's mentally tired, physically tired. And you can see when Malta subs him out in some games, I think it's quite honestly to give him a break. And we've been running guys like Mbangula, even like McKennie, like Yildiz at the 9. Like, Malta's trying everything. And I think it's showing that that's a gaping hole. And I think to be a serious contender, especially this season, we need a Vice Vlahovic.
All right. Paulo, what's needed?
I agree with Lex. And maybe someone who's a bit of a different striker or a bit of a different forward. So maybe a bit of a different style. But I still think another center back would be great. Someone who's got experience but has some legs and can play high.
Yeah. We absolutely need a center back and a striker. Like, you need both. Yeah. If international duty, Gatti's there. If Gatti, knock on wood, but I don't like that scenario. All right. We'll get to the list of fixtures after on the flip side here, okay? We'll keep machine gunning through some of these. Thoughts on Mota tossing McKennie into almost a false 9 role at the end of the match yesterday. Thought Weah was going to slot there, but McKennie was occupying that space. Again, we've seen, Vlahovic get these subs because he has to. We have to give him some rest here and there. I'm not thinking too much on this or the alternatives and what's been happening, because that's a dead match yesterday for me in terms of how we were playing to really take anything. If we were either starting a game with a false 9 and going that, I would look at it with a lot more, at a much bigger analytical, view. Right now in this one, or even the time, like even Inter, towards the end of Inter, it's too little in a phase of the game where we're not really engaged other than a management mode. So I can't really say that I'm all in on this thing or have too much to add on a false 9 role. I still stand firm. If I'm going to try anything, it'd probably be Yildiz up there. But Lex, what do you think?
I think he's just experimenting, quite honestly, in little moments when he can and when he can afford to. Malta's just experimenting to see, he's being proactive. If something, knock on wood, were to happen to Vlahovic, what are we doing instead? So I think he's just taking that opportunity. And I do have a quick question for the panel. Speaking of strikers, what do we think of Kane and his performances now at Fiorentina versus keeping him? Are you still for getting rid of him?
I'm still for it. I mean, I wasn't for not finding another striker to bring in. I always said Vlahovic and Milik is not enough. Like, we had 2 guys get hurt last season. Milik and Keane were both out for a period last season, and we had Vlahovic injured for a part of last season. So I wanted another body. As far as Moise Keane goes and his performances, no, like we had to make a move there. You're running on a guy that had 0 goals. I think it's more where he's at right now. And I'm not going to say the level. I'm not going to disrespect him like that or anything, but I'm just going to say there's a lot to be said about a change of scenery sometimes and going somewhere else and just maybe trying to rebuild his career. And I think it was the right decision for him. Um, yeah, and I still stand firm as the right decision for us. Where we probably failed is not getting a body to replace. But I have no problems with Keane doing what he's doing where he's at. No problems, no regrets. Paulo?
I guess we needed the money. I'm happy for him. It's a shame we couldn't see him uh, playing with this group, with this personality under Mota, and we'll never know. But I'm really happy for him. Fiorentina's looking really exciting to watch, and I'm so happy for Moyes because there's always been a great player there, a player of promise. It never really happened under Allegri, but there were times if you made a mistake and you were young under Allegri, you never played for weeks. So unfortunately, we'll never know what he could have done with Mota, but we needed the money, and good for him. He's having a great season, so I wish him the best.
Yeah, yeah. We'll leave that one at that. Now, so this is kind of along what we were just at. No Duchan last 12 to 15 minutes played well. Should we play with Duchan on easy games? Okay, so it's a little bit different. A little bit of a twist there. First off, I don't think we're at a point where we can call any games easy. First and foremost, my perspective. No games are easy. Doesn't mean I'm open to not like always, we have to always start Duchan. No. I just said I would try one game with Yildiz up in that role and see how it impacts and changes everything. What game do you pick to do that? Well, we'll go through the fixtures. I still like starting with a proper 9 and Vlahovic for the group. But I think when you have games that you're in control, if we can kill teams pretty early, even 2-goal lead, I'm open to seeing it, but with the proper engagement still. So I still have to see that before I could say, yeah, you know what? You got an away match, Lecce, whatever, we're rolling with Yildiz up top. So I think you start by seeing it when it actually matters, But I don't know. It's a weird one. Lex, Paulo, what do you think? Easy games. Do we have easy games? Are any of the games easy for us?
Paulo, go ahead.
I don't think there are any easy games. I had a bit of a scare when Yildiz, when his knee went backwards. I think it was
Yeah.
like in the 70th minute or something, and then he scored that banger, and then quickly Mota pulled him out. So I wanted to mention that because that was something that I saw, and it frightened the heck out of me. I know these players are pros. I find having your position switched mid game is a bit difficult because sometimes I think, well, when I played, I think I'm still thinking of the position I was in, and I keep gravitating to where I thought I was supposed to be, where I was for the first 50, 60 minutes. So I don't know if there's an easy game. I doubt there are, but I think you do need to start Yildiz in that role and give him a chance and say, look, the spot's yours. Do what you want. Have fun. Get Mbangla on the one side, maybe Chico on the other, or Chico and Weah, and say, look, just have fun out there. And maybe there's the right game to try that. But I'd like to see it from the beginning.
Well
All
said.
right. Lex, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I think I put a tweet about it earlier in the season too, about like is Yildiz or Xerxes, for example, like that type of role. I do think it's interesting. I think when you start back to goal, it does change things. I know he's playing in a false 9 role, like not a true 9, but I do think that it was something you need to experiment with. Which game you want to take a little gamble on? I don't know. That's up to Mota, right? That's the question there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, just get a 2-goal lead and then switch it up. You'd be fine. Be fine. You watch Yildiz up top there. Who knows? Maybe unlocks everything. Maybe unlocks everything. We'll see. What do we got? Giratina70, Locatelli and Spalletti have to have personal beef, right? He's earned call-ups to Italy. He's been a beast lately, and he's still not there. Massive te to Luciano. Yeah. Come on. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Easily should be called up, but it's clearly gone personal. And I don't think Locatelli did anything wrong, you know. He posted, we saw the black screen on Instagram when the call-ups went out, when he originally missed it for Euros and everything. And he said in an interview, it's like, yeah, it's devastating, you know. It's I would have expected to have been there. It's the coach's decision. There's not much I can do. And all he said was, I work every day to improve with Juventus, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. He never said anything disrespectful whatsoever. Not that I can recall or that I've seen to get it to this level, but maybe behind the scenes he did. So who knows? Who knows? But it's gotta be it's gotta be something personal there. And Spalletti's always like, I mean, if you're familiar with Spalletti, yeah, and you followed Serie A long enough, you'll see the track record he has with players that when it's out, it's out, and it's bad, and it can turn ugly. And he's done so with legends, like legends of the game. So the fact that that could happen with Locatelli is no surprise to me whatsoever. But is there anybody here on the panel that doesn't believe he should have gotten this call up?
I mean, I'm like, honestly, good for us. Keep him safe and not injured. Keep him at home. Like, fine. You don't want him? Fine. You know, that's how I see it.
I feel
But
like we should dial up Spalletti and be like, oh, where's Cristante? Is Cristante not available for you this go around? Oh, Ricci's
yeah.
hurt.
The internet-
Maybe you could call up your boy blockhead there, Cristante.
The international breaks are nonsense. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to have Locatelli at home at the Continassa, just working, staying mentally and physically focused for his season for the Champions League. Forget it. Forget about it.
We should get Cambiasso and Gatti and even Savona back. Like, forget it's
Oh, yeah.
Nations League.
Yeah.
Who cares? Who
Yeah.
It's
cares?
nonsense.
They
It's
should do
these
whatever
guys back.
Locatelli's done. They should copy Locatelli, post some black screens or something on their story, call it a day.
Does anyone know if? Oh my God! Here we go. So we just keep it going. Oh yeah. Okay, we're getting personal now with Spalletti's wife. Okay, well, getting
Maybe he stole
personal.
one of his jerseys.
I think that Juventus in the Club World Cup just goes nuts with the young guys. Oh, okay. So I gotta bring this up, and it's interesting. It's the first question we've had since I heard this, but I saw a post from a journalist posting that teams can potentially face fines if they don't play their best in the Club World Cup tournament. And I had to laugh because I'm like, number one, how on earth do you regulate that? Because, oh, you know what? Hamstring issue. Yeah, hammy. Like, there is zero ways for them to regulate that, but nonetheless, I heard this. Paulo, did you hear that?
Yeah, and it's disgusting. Everybody wants a piece of a player's life. They want some of the money from them. They want to milk them dry, and these players we're gonna lose them. We're gonna lose them if they're forced into playing all these meaningless or exhibitions.
Yeah,
It's bad. It's not good.
it's crazy. So to even say, but like I said, I mean, there's absolute, like, good luck trying to regulate that, but it's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. I'm happy for it because it's going to be in North America, and I just want the huge AJC meetup. Yeah, that's just selfish of me, okay? But that's what I want. You know, we got Juve involved too. Like, it's going to be a great time, okay? Yeah, it's a bit much. It's a bit much now if you're talking about potentially fining. And there's massive fines for any team that pulls out of the tournament now, okay? There's a ton of just lack of clarity around the facilities. Like, they've listed the stadiums they're playing at and everything, but sponsorships, TV rights, like, everything's up in the air. And up until like a month and a half ago, the thought was that this thing isn't going to go down. So it's really weird. Then all of a sudden you get, right after that had happened, and I don't think it's coincidence. Oh, no, here's our venues. Venues are here. And then, 2 weeks beyond that, any team that pulls out, big fine. And if you don't play your best players, like, massive fines. Like, what on earth is going on? FIFA, they're going to make me do it too, but right there for you. Okay.
It's all greed, man. It's all greed. Like, you want
Big
the
time.
fans to see the players they love, and to they're paying good money, so they should see quality players, all their favorites playing a great game. So from a fan perspective, I understand, but it's other organizations wanting to make money, and it's greed. It's greed is
Yeah.
what puts us in this position.
As far as the players go, Rodri, the current Ballon d'Or winner, he literally came out and said right before he blew out his knee, he's like, way too many games. More and more players are talking about it. I've said for a while, don't be surprised if they all finally come together. Like, a player, I'm surprised there's no players union. Like, they haven't done something to that degree, but I feel like it's right around the corner with what we're seeing and what we're getting as far as these games and, like, Nations League. Like, who cares? You know, like, who cares? Figure it out. Do it in a much better way. All these games packed into these seasons, all these competitions. It's just like, and now it's more and more and more. Nobody cares. Okay? Keep the big ones around, and then we move. Now, as far as, there was a question in here I did want to actually tackle because I'm curious, but it says, who do you believe is more talented? Kenan Yildiz or Chico? Who do you believe is more talented between those two? I'm trying to find it, but I remembered it, so. Everybody just waiting. It's like a standoff right now. We're just nobody's sure.
Yildiz.
Yildiz is more talented for you?
He's insane. He is insane. He's so strong and he's so tough. He's a great defender. He's a great forward. He's a great winger. We haven't even seen his potential up high in the 9 or the 10, but I mean, right in the center of the pitch, at the top of the box. I think he's unbelievable.
All right. Yildiz for Paulo. Lex.
I'm going to go with Yildiz as well, simply for his versatility and just all-around player. I think Chico's great at what he does, but in terms of, like, versatility and everything he does in and around the box, I'm going to have to go with Yildiz. Yeah.
Chico is insane at what he does.
He is. That's the thing.
Insane at what he does. I think there's a little bit more around Yildiz, though, like, just more overall that you could take from it, and I think we've, like, scratched the surface really of Kenan Yildiz and what he's capable of. Chico's crazy, though, like, crazy good. 21 years old, and Yildiz is 19 going on 20. Yeah, that's awesome for Juve. So my answer, I don't give a shit who's more talented. I'm happy they're both with us. Okay? 30 million for Chico could end up being a steal at season's end on that release clause. An absolute steal. Unbelievable. Both very mature as well. Stated here. Yildiz, yeah, he's just always saying the right things. Got very, very humble. Comes off very, very humble. Just seems like I can't believe we got him. Literally just picked him up for nothing from Bayern's academy. Insane what could possibly become there for Yildiz. But Chico Conceição, my God. What was the discussion 2 shows ago? We said, is he the biggest surprise on this team? Um, I was very excited about him. I didn't even expect this much impact. So we were talking about Weah's numbers and everything. Chico's on 2 goals, 5 assists in 10 appearances. In like, he probably just broke 600-minute mark. And he's got 7 contributions. That's crazy. Yildiz, huge moment in that Inter game. And for a while we were like, when's he going to do it against a big team? Like, when's he going to do it in like big game? He had that Champions League goal, obviously, a la Del Piero. But that Inter one could have been like what he needed to kind of turn the key and now really get things revved up and moving forward. But take your pick out of either one, man. Like they're spectacular players. I don't Chico Conceição, like Lex, did you expect this much impact?
No, I didn't. I can't say that I did. And I don't know if Malta did either. He didn't really start out. He wasn't an out and out starter. And now I think he's really made a case for himself to be our number one guy in that role. I know Gonzalez is out injured, but I do think that he's really made a case for himself there. I know you were excited about Umberto, and I hadn't really seen much of him prior to him arriving at Juve, but it's been a wonderful surprise, definitely.
Is he MVP of the season for you so far?
I think so, yeah. He's up there in competition with Yildiz, for sure, for that role.
So those
Yeah,
two for MVP of the season for you.
for
Paulo,
me.
who's your MVP of the season so far? Chat, who's your MVP of the season so far to this point?
Wow. That's tough. I
It
did
is
not
tough.
expect this out of Chico. I didn't realize how fast and how confident he is. And the way
Yeah.
he switches on people so easily, he just basically undresses people. Um, MVP this season. Wow. I think it's Cambiaso maybe. I don't know. It's tough. It's a good problem to have. Again, a good problem to have, and we're going to get goals from a lot of players this year, which is wonderful. So hard to answer that one.
So, and this is why it's so tough. Because, so you can see in the chat, you got Locatelli, you've got Cambiaso. We're talking Yildiz. We're talking Conceição. If I think MVP, the immediate first thing that comes to my mind is like you notice the biggest impact when they're out of the lineup. So Chico for sure, you
Mhm.
notice a difference when he's in versus when he's out. I'd argue Locatelli, you definitely notice. I notice. Cambiaso, have we seen Cambiaso out yet? Yeah, we did. We saw a start. We saw a start without Cambiaso. He came in from the bench because it was not looking pretty. And he needed to come in and restore some order and help us out. But yeah, we did see that without him. And yeah, it wasn't good. So you can make that argument for all the guys in this discussion. Gun to my head, though. Maybe Cambiaso or Locatelli. Maybe one of those two. If you're talking about the stats in terms of the numbers and where they sit, we showed you Locatelli's a little while ago as to where he sits amongst players in the league and everything. Data MB always putting together things. They put one together for Cambiaso versus Serie A fullbacks. Passes, he's first. Short passes, he's first. Deep completions, first. Progressive runs, second. Accurate long pass percentage, second. Accelerations, third. They're all up there. Chico Conceição is well up there as far as stats for wingers. He's got crazy, like in 99th percentile on almost everything that you can
Mhm.
measure these guys on. And Locatelli's high up there as well. So all these guys are just absolutely killing it. Gun to my head though, Cambiaso or Loca probably. Probably go that route. But this is good stuff for Juve. It's all trending in the right direction. After the break, Milan. We will head there and face air conditioner Milan.
Conditioner.
And then we'll have Aston Villa in Champions League, and that'll be a saucy one. Obviously going to Villa Park there. November's been pretty light. Pretty light for us. That's probably a good thing. December's going to get packed. But I got to say favorable for us. Favorable for us. Lecce away from home, December 1st. On the 7th, Bologna at home. Man City 4 days after that at home. But that is where I really want to see what Motta dials up. Playing an opponent like that where you know your game of controlling isn't going to happen. That's where I really want to see what Motta dials up. I'm really looking forward to that game. Venezia, 3 days after that, at home. Coppa Italia versus Cagliari at home 3 days after that. Monza, 5 days after that. And then finish up with Fiorentina on the 29th. That's a good list of opponents for Serie A. That's a very favorable December. It's just that there's a lot. And they're jam-packed. So, yeah, it's good for opponents. But it's jam-packed. When we come back after the break, what Milan are we going to get? The one that does believe Monza and Cagliari are more difficult to play than Real Madrid? What Milan do we expect to get? Like, this is going to be an interesting one, but that's another big one. We want to get 3 points there. And again, we're going to have eyes on the marquee matchup today, Napoli-Inter. Lex, prediction for Napoli-Inter, and what do you expect out of Juve versus Milan?
Okay, Napoli-Inter, I'm expecting a cagey game. I think we're going to see a nice Conte low block. I think it's going to be there. But
Calcio chicken between Inzaghi and Conte?
I'm hoping for a tie. I want a tie. That would be best case for Juve, obviously.
You want tie.
In terms of Juve Milan, it depends. Is Fonseca going to bench his best players? I don't know. You know, we'll see. We'll see who we face. That's a real tough one. I just think that it's so tight. Top 6 this year is tight. I think like Lazio is having a quietly really good season. Atalanta looks strong. I do think that Inter's Inter, and then that other spot, I think it's tight this year. We need to make sure we're not dropping points, especially against top 6 clubs.
And Atalanta just making it through Udinese today, 2-1. So that puts them level with Napoli at 25 points, 1 point ahead of us and Inter. Fiorentina was 1-1 level with Hellas Verona right now. They have taken the lead, 2-1. So Fiorentina would then, with a victory, also go on 25 points. 1 point up on us and Inter. It is extremely tight. Wow. But you're right, Milan. Who knows what Fonseca is going to do? It's a surprise to many. He's still there right now, but like it just keeps kind of going and going. Paolo, what do you think's going to happen? A little prediction maybe for Inter Napoli. And what do you think going into the Milan game after the break?
Inter Napoli is going to be attrition. I would probably give Inter the edge, maybe 1-0, but I think it'll be 1-1. I think they'll just attrition, and I think it'll be 1-1. And for Milan, we'll see what how healthy their roster is. I think we're playing a more complete game, at least right now. I think if we played Milan right now, we would win. If Milan still is weak at the back, I think they can be had. And I think Kalulu's going to want to remind Milan who he is. So I think we have a good shot against Milan, and it will be a fun game. It'll be an interesting game, but I think we can have them 2-1.
Absolutely. I think I'd give our midfield a definite, clear, definitive edge there against that side. And I think when you're looking at sides, it's funny. Depending on who Fonseca goes to play, you have a very strong left side for Milan versus a very strong right side for Juve. Like if you've got, you could potentially fight back how they want to attack with, if they got Hernandez and Leao out there, well, Conceição will definitely push you back. And if not, hey, I'm cool with that because that means you're giving him more space. He'll torch you. Chico's going to torch you. All right. I look forward to
and
it.
Way and McKinney, let's see what insights they have to get Pulisic off his game.
Yeah. Little American flair in there. Moise Keane, by the way, did score the one to give Fiorentina lead. He's on a brace today, so we were talking about him. Good thing I got him in my Fantacalcio team. Oh, yeah. Hey, well, you know why? You can only pick so many Juve players. Sometimes you got to pick ex-Juve players. But Moise Keane getting it done for Team Berto. I like it. You guys, last one from Tuna Steaks here. Cambrota or Cancelo? Definitely Cambrota. We ain't going with no Cancelo here. Come on. It's Cambrota. Paulo, Lex, absolute pleasure covering this. Okay, we're sitting pretty. We'll see. Like we said, it could be 4 points, 3 points, or 1 point out from the top spot, depending on the other results. You guys, enjoy the international break for whatever it is. We're going to hope for a clean bill of health coming out of it. I'll keep you in the loop with all the news. We've got some fun content coming out through the international break as well. And we might even have a live show talking about the Azzurri. Depends just how much Spalletti's pissed me off recently. We'll see, all right? But you guys, take care. As always, no matter what, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. Ciao tutti. Take care.